Is there a proper media to tell a particular story? Can stories benefit from being movies, shows, books, comics, video games? Is there like like a set media that works best with a story? I'm gonna kind of dive into that. This was inspired by Timothy Cain's video titled Games as Actions that he uploaded a couple of days ago. It's not a direct reaction, but what I'm discussing is very much inspired by what he says in his video. So I encourage you to check it out. Give him a like. He's a really insightful guy, and he was responsible for original Fallout, like a veteran game developer. Just a good video to watch. Okay, so I touched on this idea a little bit with my Hellblade video, saying, was a video game the best way to tell that particular story? Because there wasn't much gained by having the player go through a predetermined story down a predetermined path. Some people, can make good arguments for why it still works. Like perhaps some people just benefit from navigating through a 3D environment, even if they feel kind of on rails while doing so, right? Um, and I really liked what Tim Kaine was saying, that books are books are words, games are actions, and movies are sequences, right? Um, so I'm just gonna kind of kind of dive into each of those a little bit. I'm going to be there we go. I'm going to be working on my Plague Bearer some more. I just wanted to just kind of dive into it a little bit first. I'm just gonna be. I doubt I'm gonna get through even the primer today, but I'm gonna do my best. So this is gonna be a bit of a longer one, but it'll be fine. I'm gonna start with my my little nurglings. Oh, they're so cute, but they're tiny. And I've got these little alligator clips on skewer things that they are kind of like a drying rack for like really small pieces, that I'm gonna be putting them on, if you're curious. Um, so I just need a second to kind of gather my thoughts again. Okay, I'm gonna just be getting my primer ready on my palette here. I'm gonna go ahead and go for the Desert Tan primer on these because they're going to be Death Guard green. I really want the influence of Nurgle to be strong on the smaller ones. So I think that's gonna be a good start under the green paint. Um, I'm doing a really yeah. This is actually like too wet. I'm on a wet palette, which is usually a good thing, but if it's but you want your primer to go on a little bit thicker than your normal paint. So I'm gonna dry it off a little bit. There we go. I usually do I like to brush it on. Oh, there, I want to make sure it's actually in the video. Um I like to brush it on instead of spray it on because I like to try to get in all the little crevices, and I just feel like you can pull more detail out of the models if you have a bunch of like thin paint layers as opposed to like a solid spray coat. But it's definitely faster to spray, and I can understand the benefit to doing either. I just I enjoy the process of painting. I'm not super worried about getting the pieces done. They're done when they're done. So I'm not really worried about the time factor. Um, that it takes. All right. It is. I made the camera bigger, and I still feel like I'm kind of getting it off. All right, I'm gonna pull it up here while I'm doing it. Okay. So let me get back into what I was saying. I really liked. I really liked his premise that games are for action. Um, so like in a movie, you okay in a book, one of the biggest benefits, in my opinion, right, is that you can read characters' inner thoughts. If it's the kind of story where the author lets you do that. Um, a reason I like book versions of things. Now, I mean, actually, I'll just go through all of them. The reason I like a book is because a lot of times you can luxuriate in details that you just simply don't have the runtime for in a movie or a show. A show you can dig a little deeper than you can with a movie, but like pacing is such a problem in movies that there's a lot of small details that, can collectively matter to a story that are like absolutely have to be glossed over for the sake of brevity, right? And that's a big appeal of books to me. That you can take the time and really have a better understanding, and you can appreciate the small details. And then something that movies can do better, and games are coming around. There's some that are able to do this better than others. They Is that off screen? Uh, all right. Eh, I'm just hanging them up when I'm done. It, it kind of looks like that. I I was trying to get this on screen, but we'll see what happens. Um, these are tiny and they'll go quick, so I'm not super worried about it. But I'm gonna try to paint the bigger plague bearer figures, like where you can actually see what I'm doing. That's the point of the camera. So in video games, I feel like a big reason to have uh, a story be told in a video game versus a story or a book is to have it be a more interactive experience, to let the player have some agency in the story. And while I'm not saying that there's no place for narratives in video games, I feel like it's not the best medium to tell that kind of story. And especially like some of the games like Tomb Raider or Assassin's Creed or something where there's this predetermined climbing path, or you're scaling a roof or you're doing something, and there's only a certain place you can go. There's like invisible walls and everything kind of reining you in, and it's a little unsatisfying for me to go through that. I'd rather it be a cutscene, like somebody said it really well when criticizing the game Starfield. They said this quest could have been an email. Like you travel to talk to an NPC, and then you don't need to return back because they just use their communicator to turn in the quest for you. And it's a why couldn't you just call them yourself? It just there. I mean, maybe this I understand, I understand programming like needs to give some sort of instructions, right? They have to have a thing that they ask of you, the player, to do to check if you've done to make a quest work whatsoever. But I just feel like sometimes it the quests are a little I don't know, arbitrary, disappointing. I don't know the right word for it, but just it just feels a little demoralizing. Uh, like, I don't know. I say that, and then I'm a big proponent of the adventure starts small and that a player shouldn't have some grand, big, overreaching plot when they first, you know, come out of amnesia or pop into existence or get released from prison or whatever the story is that, um, wake up as a clone, whatever the story is that puts them into the world. Um, they should start small and like gradually build up. And I don't know. I feel like there's kind of a difference between help me with this small but reasonable task and like and then being asked to do something below your pay grade. I don't know. Um, but yeah, with some stories, it's like um, and this is the prerogative of the developer to do, but it's also the opinion of the audience to like or dislike it. When they say, "Hey, I've made this character. This is this character's story, and you are just begrudgingly coming along for it." Like I wanted to tell a story about this character, and you're along for the ride. And that's again, that's fine, and sometimes that's good. But like a situation where I feel like that was done really well was The Witcher, right? Because it is Geralt's story, but there's so much player choice. There's like the combat, right? Like you are going along for Geralt's story, but you still feel some level of attachment to the character because he's your Geralt, right? Like he you're going through the story, but you're still making some choices. Um you still have a reason to perform the actions for him, right? You still want, Roach to stop getting stuck, right? As if it's your collective horse, right? There's no separation between the character and the player. And I feel like sometimes the stories can be a little stifling, a little off-putting, where it's like, oh, I'd rather you didn't get your filthy player decisions on my character. I don't know. Maybe that's a little unfair, but yeah, sometimes it's like, look, um, and I understand, like, it's exciting to be part of a creative work and to feel some attachment to the story, to the character, right? And you want it to be treated well and viewed in a good way. But you when you put something out into the world, when you put art into the world, you relinquish your right to say how it's interpreted, how it's experienced. And you know, um if you try to restrict too much how people feel about your character, then it stays your character because it doesn't. You're not really giving people a chance to relate to or go along the journey with the character because there's just this firm line in the sand between like the player and the predetermined character on a rail that the player's just following like a camera. I don't know if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's absolutely narrative games that have been done well. Like I bring up this example a lot because it is one of my favorite series. But Mass Effect, right? It's Commander Shepard's story, or if if you are really along for the ride, it is the Ryder twins story, right? Sarah or Scott. No one played Andromeda. It wasn't a good Mass Effect game, but it was a good game once it was fixed. Like, I waited until they fixed it before I even played it. But yeah, it's their story, right? It's either, it's Commander Shepard's story, but it's your Shepard, right? Like you're picking Renegade or Paragon. I forgot Renegade the other day. You are choosing the wrong person to romance. You know the correct answer, right? you're choosing which planets to visit. You're choosing which side quest to do and how they should play out. And while there's a set amount of ways that the story can play out, even through subsequent playthroughs, you still feel like it's your character and it's your story, even though, you don't. I mean, you can change the first name, but I mean, you can't even like name your character, right? Um, and there is a character creator, and that definitely um goes pretty far for a lot of people. The option to choose what the character looks like. Um, I don't know. I feel like that matters a lot with players connecting with a character. Um, okay, I'm trying to decide. I think I still want to stick with the beige for kind of the sticks and but I'm gonna switch to a white for some of the details like the horns and stuff. I don't know, maybe the beige would work as an undercoat for the horns. Just like thinking out loud. Gonna I'm gonna stay with the beige for right now. Okay. Um The primer doesn't show through that much, but I don't want to have something I have to have a lot of effort to come back from. I want something fairly like a fairly neutral undertone. I do have like just a plain white, but it can make the light colors very light. And sometimes that takes a lot of darkening to come back from it. The same way that like, pure black is gonna just always show through in like the crevices. It's really hard to lighten up from pure black, but it can look really striking on some figures. So there's definitely a benefit to doing that. Um, mm, but like with a movie, you're watching the movie, you have no choice in the matter. You can choose like how you want to experience it, if you're going to scoff and laugh and not take it seriously, if you're going to like, you know, full on emotionally invest as if you are, know the character and you're like in tears at the end, like you choose your level of involvement with the journey and your level of suspension of disbelief. But ultimately, you have no say in how the movie goes. It is a predetermined experience. And I just feel like narratives where you don't have any say or any agency, you might as well be watching a movie, right? And with a book, again, you're going along a journey. Like the author is leading you down the journey, and I think, and there's a there's a benefit to like the omnipotence of the storytelling. I think that you can have a greater understanding for characters in a book. But but in cinema, you can have a greater understanding for the emotions characters feel for each other. There's a lot that can be said with an expression like a longing glance, an exasperated glance, a well placed laugh, a well placed wink, or meaningful stare, right? You can build in a lot of nuance and relationship between characters, even like in a condensed timeline, and you can use a lot of like coded like social cues to understand the dynamic between characters where, in a book you literally have to spell out how they feel about each other. So like that's definitely a benefit for that. Now, one way that games are sort of evolving past the limitations of either is a lot of games will have a written story, either presented as just a pure lore dump or, gradually between characters in like a dialogue, or sort of a hybrid of movies with like elaborate cut scenes where things are discussed between characters and like big events that would have been difficult to show through player action are able to be kind of condensed into a cinematic, and you kind of get the gist of how it would have happened if you had been an active participant. So I think that the games do benefit for being like a kind of a hybrid between being a passive watcher and an active participant in some big narrative stories. I think I'm only gonna get one primed. I really hoped that that I would go through this faster, but I don't really want to rush it. But yeah, I I think it's an interesting topic, but I don't have a lot to say on it yet because it's still like kind of the early stages of me thinking on it. I I really like. Yeah, I think I am gonna go for the tan on even the weapons because I think they'll look cool as like kind of bone. I think they're like more like made out of bone than metal, so I think that'll be a good undercolor for that. And I'm gonna leave the skulls though because they'll work better with like a white primer. But I'm gonna do the little dais behind it in the okay. So yeah, going back to what he said, I think he really hit the nail on the head that in a game the player is making actions. One one thing that like I used to enjoy when I was younger was choose your own adventure books, where you were still going through a predetermined story, but you had some agency as a reader. And I think that that was like a really cool idea. And I think that's a big reason that I enjoy the narrative kind of games where you get some say in how the narrative plays out. I think that's kind of a thing that draws me to RPGs instead of. I mean, I don't know. I like most kinds of games at different times for different reasons, but I would say like as a whole, I like RPGs the most because there's just something um very like I don't know. It's like having a mental vacation, getting to immerse yourself in um problems that don't actually matter, right? It gives you like kind of a break from things that do matter, you know? And and the scale isn't really that important. It matters more for the story. You can be a galactic hero or you can be a farmer. And you know, it's more about the escapism. But yeah. All right. I'm going to I'm gonna prime the little skulls and that's probably it for this one because it's getting a little long. But I'm gonna keep going. I might just prime one or two off screen so that I can get back so I can actually get into some of the painting, but I don't know for sure yet. Um but I will I will have like a closer video of this as I go to sort of like update with the progress. Um okay. So what do you think? Like have there been games that you were kind of disappointed by you know, going through, or do you have some examples of when the medium really worked, even though it was kind of a predetermined story? Um, is there, you know, there's kind of the the cliche, the book was better. But I don't know, I've always been in the camp of the book is better in different ways, and the movie is better in different ways, or the game is better. You know, each have their own merits and their own there's different benefits and drawbacks to any of them. Like, I don't know that there is a perfect medium to tell a story, but I suppose like there's the best medium for a story. Um, but yeah. Okay. There. I've got him primed. I'm gonna let him dry and maybe prime a one or two off screen so that I can start on the actual painting. No, I'm probably gonna finish priming them all first. But yeah, until next time, take care.